Hello students, welcome to Science Learning Gateway. I hope you all are doing good. So today we are going to start class 10th NCERT Science chapter number 9, that is heredity and evolution. As you can see the title of this chapter is from biology, and this is one of the important chapter from the biology section. So we'll start this chapter and continue with that. The students who are from CBSE board, those who are going to write their exam in the year 2021, for them the chapter is reduced. Means in this chapter they have to study about only heredity, and for other state board students they have to study the full chapter. Still no update is there regarding the reduction of syllabus for other state boards. So I have made a complete tutorial for this chapter. So the CBSE student will only go through the heredity part, evolution no need to study, and the state board students for other state boards like Karnataka and Jharkhand and all, those state board students, they will read the complete chapter. So let's start with this chapter. Before starting guys, I have a very small request from you all. If you're really liking my channel, my tutorial, then please like and subscribe my channel and share this with your friends also. And don't forget to click on the bell icon so that whenever I will be uploading a new chapter, you'll get the notification for that. And for class 10 student, I want to say that you can connect me through my Facebook page, Science Learning Gateway. The link will be given in the description box, and I have made a group for class 10 student. There we can discuss all your doubts, and that the questions which came in your last year previous year papers and all, we'll discuss in that group. So if you want, you can join that group. So now we'll continue with our chapter. Okay, first of all, we'll discuss about the important terms in this chapter so that it will be easy for you to understand the chapter. So the terms which are used in this chapter, first you should know the meaning of those terms, and after that only we'll continue with this chapter. As the name of the chapter is heredity and evolution. So first of all, you should know what is heredity. Heredity means nothing. Suppose some we are little bit similar to our parents, right? For example, our skin color may be similar to our parents. For example, the hair, whether it is curly or straight, that is also sometimes similar to our parents. Means it is possible that we resemble little bit our parents. That eye color also we can it can resemble from our parents. So if those characters are passed from the parents to their offspring, means to their children, that is called heredity. The transmission of characters or traits from one generation to the next generation is called heredity. One generation means from the parent generation to their children's generation, means from the parents to their offspring. If characters are passed like eye color, skin color, texture of the hairs, whether it is straight or curly, etc., height of a person, if those characters are passed from the parents to their children, then that is called heredity. And about evolution I will be telling you when we will start that part. So this is the meaning of heredity. This is very interesting chapter. We'll learn how the characters are passed from our parents to us, and how the sex of and the last topic of this chapter is how the sex of a child is also determined. That also we'll study in this chapter. About Mendel's experiment we'll study. Those things we'll study in this chapter. So it's a very interesting chapter but little bit lengthy. So please be patient and look at the and look the video till end so that you will understand the chapter clearly. And it can possible that from any portions or any topic questions can come in your board exam. So please read the NCERT book line by line and understand each and term topics. Okay, now we'll start with the first term, that is genetics. So what is genetics? It is a branch of science that deals with the study of heredity and variation. Means as we have so many branches of science like physics, chemistry, biology, like that only genetics is also one of the branch of science in which study of heredity and variation is done. Okay, heredity and variation are studied under the branch of science that is called genetics. Next one, heredity. Just now I have told you that the transmission of characters, means the characters or the traits or characters are the same things which are passed from one generation to the next generation is called heredity. The process of transfer of character from one generation to the next generation is called heredity. This is a very easy definition of heredity. Next one, variation. Variation means what? The meaning of variation is differences. Okay, the difference in characters or traits between the parents and offspring is called variation. As you all know that we are not exactly what our parents look. Okay, if you compare the face of your parent and you, for example, if you compare your face with your mother, it's not same. right? For example, your face is not similar to your brother or sister, it is not same. So there is some differences or variation between the parents and the offspring, that is called variation. The difference in the characters or traits between the parents and the offspring is called variation, and variation is very important factor in sexual reproduction. When we have read that chapter, how do organisms reproduce, that time we have seen no that variation is a very important factor in sexual reproduction. So there are two types of variation, somatic and gametic variations. Okay, so let's see what are somatic and gametic variation. Somatic variation, it occurs in somatic cells, as the name indicates. In which cell it will occur? It will occur in somatic cells. They are not transmitted in the next generation, means these variations in somatic variation, what happens, the characters are not transmitted in the next generation, means characters will not be transmitted from the parents to their offspring. They are also known as acquired traits. Okay, somatic variations are also known as acquired traits. Next one is our gametic variation. It occurs in germ cells, means the reproductive cells. It will occur in the germ cells. They are transmitted or inherited in the next generation, means characters will be transferred from their parents to the offspring. They are also known as inherited traits. Okay, the children are getting those things, getting the characters, inheriting those things. So these are also known as inherited traits. For example, this is our parent generation. This is our parent generation, and the next generation, that is the children generation, is called the offspring or the progeny. Okay, so the generation after the parent is called offspring or progeny. So don't get confused about these words, offspring or progeny. Our next topic is traits. So what are traits? Traits are the characters like eye color, skin tone, eyeball color, then your texture of the hairs, height of a person. Those characters which pass from the parents to the other generation, to their offspring, are called traits. There are two types of traits, dominant trait and recessive trait. Dominant trait is a strong trait. Okay, it will express itself, and the recessive one is a weak trait. So what is dominant trait? It expresses itself in the presence or absence of the recessive trait. For example, we have this one. Suppose this capital T is the dominant trait and the small t is the recessive trait. So this capital T is very strong and this one is weak. So the offspring or the progeny which will be formed in the next generation will be tall, means tall character will express itself. So dominant trait will express itself in the presence or absence of the recessive trait. But recessive trait, like for example, these are our recessive trait. So what recessive trait will do? It will express itself only in the absence of the dominant trait, means the next generation which will come will be short in height, will be dwarf in height. Okay, so the recessive trait can only express itself when dominant trait is not present. So these are the two types of traits. Next we will move to our next section. Next topic is genes. So what are genes? Genes are the hereditary material, as you know from your previous chapters or previous classes. We are reading that genes are the hereditary materials and these are present on the DNA. Okay, genes are the functional unit of heredity and it controls the characteristics in living organism. From our parents to the offspring, chromosomes are passed on, and the chromosomes contains the genes, and genes control each and every characteristics of an organism which are passed from the parents to their offspring. So these are the functional unit of heredity. Okay, next we have alleles. What are alleles? Alleles are different forms of a given genes. For example, we have one gene. If it is having two different forms, then those pairs are called alleles. They will always occur in pair. For example, capital T and small t, these are the alleles for the characteristic of a height of a plant. Okay, capital T is the allele which is responsible for the tallness. The plant will be tall. And small t is the allele which is responsible for dwarfness. Dwarfness means shortness. So this is the pair of a allele. Next we have the phenotype and the genotype type. When we will read about the monohybrid and the dihybrid cross, that time you will look at these words, phenotype and the genotype. Phenotype means physical characters which we can see. Okay, by looking at them we can tell us what is that. So it refers to observable physical appearance of a given organism, means by looking at that only we can predict what is that. For example, tall plant, dwarf plant. By looking at the plant we can see which plant is tall and which one is dwarf. Dwarf means short plant. Genotype, it refers to genetic code responsible for any given phenotype, means it is in the term of a code like TT, small t, capital T, small t. It will be represented in the form of genetic code, and it is responsible for any given phenotype. Means genotype will be dependent on the phenotype. For example, capital T, it is a genotype responsible for tallness of a plant. If capital T will be present, then it will be responsible for tallness of a plant will be tall. Small t will present, then it is the genotype which is responsible for dwarfness of the plant. If capital T and small t will present, then it is also responsible for tallness of a plant. Capital T is a dominant trait, it will express itself, so the plant will be tall in height. Next we have homozygous and heterozygous traits. So these are two types of traits, homozygous and heterozygous. Homo means what? Similar. Hetero means different. So homozygous, it refers to condition when same type of allele is present for a given phenotype. For example, T and T, both are similar, so these represent the homozygous trait. Okay, means this, in this one, both the alleles will be similar. In heterozygous means different. It refers to condition when different types of alleles are present for a given phenotype. In this one is capital T but other one is small t. So this will be different from each other. So these are the differences between homozygous and heterozygous. If similar alleles will be present, then it is a homozygous. Then if it is different, then it is heterozygous. Next we'll move up in the next section. Now we'll study about Mendel and his work. Mendel and his work on inheritance. Mendel, Gregor John Mendel. Okay, he is also known as father of genetics. You should remember this one. 1 marks question can come from this section. Who is known as father of genetics? Then you have to write the name Gregor John Mendel. Okay, he did the experiment on plant breeding and hybridization. In the year 1822 and 1884, he did this experiment on plant breeding and hybridization. He was the first scientist who brought mathematics in biology. Means he used the concept of probability and all in biology. So in this chapter, we'll read little bit about mathematics also. He proposed the laws of inheritance in living organisms. Okay, 3 laws he proposed under law of inheritance. The first law was law of dominance, the second one was law of segregation, and the third one was law of independent assortment. So now we'll discuss the 3 laws of inheritance. The first law was the law of dominance. So let's see what is the statement of law of dominance. It states that out of 2 contrasting genes controlling each character, one will express itself. Which one will express? Dominant, and other will remain suppressed in the presence of dominant gene. For example, we have 2 alleles over there, capital T and small t. Capital T will represent a tall plant and small t will represent a dwarf plant. In this you can see that capital T is the dominant one and the small t is the recessive one. So in this one, capital T is the dominant one and small t is the dwarf one. So in the next generation, which will represent itself? The dominant character, means all the plants will be tall in the next generation. So according to law of dominance, whether the dominant trait or recessive trait is present in the next generation, the dominant trait will only express itself. For example, in this case, in the next generation, all the plants will be tall in character. The second law is the law of segregation. Segregation means separate, means it will divide, separate. It states that 2 genes controlling each character separate from each other during gamete formation. For example, we have 2 genes like this. Okay, so these 2 genes will separate itself during gamete formation. When? So these are the gametes. These are present in the parents. But when gamete will form from this one, capital T and small t, only one gene will come to form the gamete, whether it is capital T or small t, means whether the tall character of the plant will come or the small character will come. In this one also only one T will come in this one. So in this case, what you have to remember, that's in segregation what happens, the genes will divide itself, will separate from each other, and in the next generation, means in order to form the gametes, they will separate itself. The third one is law of independent assortment. Independent means they are dependent on themselves. They are not dependent on other characters. It states that 2 genes controlling each character separate from each other during gamete formation and get randomly arranged in offsprings. Okay, according to this one, the 2 genes which control each character separate from each other during gamete formation. For example, in this one we have capital T, and this one we have this one. This is one of the this is representing one character and this is representing one character. The meaning of independent assortment is that the tallness of a plant will be dependent on themselves, and this color or the shape of the plant, of the seed and all, it will be dependent on each other. They don't have, means they will take care of themselves and they will take care of themselves. They are not interfering on each other. This gene will be dependent on itself and this gene will be dependent on itself. The meaning of independent assortment is that, means they will not interfere in each other's matter. Next we have Mendel and his contribution in genetics. So in order to carry out his work in genetics, what he did, he selected garden pea plant, and the scientific name of this garden pea plant is Pisum sativum. Sometimes the question is also asked which plant Mendel has selected for his experiment. So you have to write garden pea plant and in bracket you can write Pisum sativum for his work. He used 7 pairs of contrasting characters in pea plant. In pea plant, 7 pairs of contrasting characters. Contrasting means for example height. So the plant can be of tall height also and dwarf height also. Suppose the color of the flower. The plant can be of purple color also. The flower can be of white color also. For example, the shape of the seed. The shape of the seed can be round in shape. It can be wrinkled in shape. So these are the contrasting characters. For example, the eye color of a human beings. In human beings also the eye color can be black and it can be brown. So these are the contrasting characters. So in pea plant, 7 pairs of contrasting characters were present. That's why he selected garden pea plant for his experiment. So let's see what are the contrasting characters which are present in the pea plant. First of all, we'll look at the characters. For example, flower color. So these are the dominant one and these are the recessive trait. If the dominant trait is present, then the color will be violet and the white one is the recessive trait. Flower position, it can be axial and terminal. Seed color, yellow or green. Seed shape, round or wrinkled. Pod shape, inflated or constricted. Pod color, green, yellow. Height of the plant, tall and dwarf or short. Flower color means the color of the flower can be violet or white. The violet color is the dominant trait and white color is a recessive trait. Flower position, you can see in this diagram the flower position. If it is present in the form of a branches like right or left, then it is called axial. And terminal, if the flowers are present at the top of the plant, then it is called the terminal. Seed color means the seeds you can see over there, the color of the seed can be yellow or it can be green. If yellow color seeds are present, then it is a dominant trait. If green color seeds are present, then it is the recessive trait. Then seed shape, the shape of the seed can be completely round or it can be wrinkled. Wrinkled means little bit it is compressed. Okay, means little folds can be present in that shape. So these are the two contrasting characters. Pod shape means the shape of your this pea. Okay, it can be inflated balloon, like air is filled inside that, like that it will be, or it can be constricted, means some wave like structures can be present in that pea plant. Okay, next one is pod color. Pod color means the outer covering of the pea plant. It can be green or it can be yellow. And the last one is height of the plant, means the plant can be of tall height and it can be of short height. So these were the 7 pairs of characters which were present in the pea plant. Now one question is asked over there, that why Mendel selected garden pea plant for his experiment, means why he selected garden pea plant only for his experiment. He can select other plants also, or he can select other animals also, or human beings also for his experiment, but he selected garden pea plant. Why? Because some of the characters are present in pea plant which was helpful for him during the experiment. Okay, so let's see what are the characters which are present in the garden pea plant, so that it was helpful for Mendel during his experiment. The first point one, they are easy to grow and have short lifespan, means pea plant can be easily grown and they have short lifespan, means many generations experiment he can do using the garden pea plant. If he had carried the experiment using human beings, he cannot do so many experiments because so many generations he cannot look at that. But garden pea plant have a very short lifespan, so he can compare many generations for his experiment. So these are easily grown and have short lifespan. The flowers of this plant are bisexual, means both the characters, male and female, both are present in the flowers of the garden pea plant. They produce large numbers of seeds. Large number of seeds can also be obtained from the garden pea plant. And the fourth one is both self and cross pollination is possible. Okay, self pollination and cross pollination both can be possible in garden pea plant. And the last one, different characters in pea plant can be easily recognized. Just now we have seen that 7 pairs of contrasting characters are present in pea plant. So many characters are present in pea plant, which was very helpful for Mendel to carry out his experiment. So any 3 or 4 points you can remember for this question. Generally questions are asked from this sections also. Next, Mendel's experiment. What he did, he conducted a series of experiments in which he crossed the pollinated plants to study one character at a time. Okay, many experiments were done by the Mendel, in which he crossed the pollinated plants to study one character at a time. So in this section, we'll read about the monohybrid cross and the dihybrid cross. So let's start with monohybrid cross. Mono means one. Okay, mono means one. So in this monohybrid cross, he has used only one character, one pair of character for doing this experiment. Cross between two pea plants with one pair of contrasting character is called monohybrid cross. He used two pea plants, but only one pair of contrasting characters was taken in this one, so it is called a monohybrid cross. Cross between a tall and a dwarf plant. For example, we have this one, tall plant and a short plant. So the height of the plant is considered over there. So only one pair of contrasting character is considered, means a tall plant is crossed with a dwarf plant. So this was monohybrid cross. Now you can look at this diagram. This is a tall plant, and the alleles which are present in the tall plant are capital T and capital T, and in the short plants the alleles which are present is small t and small t. So when gamete will be formed, what will happen? Segregation will take place, means only one allele will come over there. From there also one allele will come. From this one capital T will come, and from the dwarf plant small t will come. Now what will happen? This T will combine with this small t and it will form TT. This is the next generation. In the next generation we'll get this combination, capital T and small t. So this is in the first generation the plants formed will be of tall height, because we have this capital T and small t. One is dominant and the next one is recessive. So we know that according to law of dominance, only dominant character will express itself. So in the first generation, means in the F1 generation, all the plants formed will be of tall height. Now we'll look at the second generation. In second generation also we'll get two gametes, capital T, small t. In this also we'll get two gametes, capital T and small t. Now the crossing will be taken place using the Punnett square. Capital T will combine with the capital T to form this one TT combination. Now this T will combine with this T to form capital T and small t. Now in the next section, this small t will combine with the capital T to form capital T and small t, and the last one, small t will combine with the small t to form TT combination. So we have 4 plants in this one. In this, 3 plants were of tall height, but only one plant is of short height. How? Because in this both the TT are dominant. The tall plant will be there. In this, one is dominant and the next one is recessive. The dominant character will express itself. The plant will be of tall height. In this also dominant character will express itself. So in this also plant will be of tall height, but in this one both the character are recessive, means both are for dwarf height. So the plant will be of dwarf height or short height. In F1 generation, the genotypes are all TT. We can see 2 plants are formed, but both of them have this combination, capital T and small t. And phenotype means which we can see by the physical appearance, all the plants are of tall height. In the F2 generation, genotypic ratio is, you can see capital T is only 1. This capital T small t is of 2 and this one is 1. So the ratio will be 1:2:1. This is 2. This is 1, this is 2 and this is 1. 1:2:1. And in the phenotype, what we can see that 3 plants are tall and 1 is dwarf. The ratio will be, tall is to dwarf ratio will be 3:1. So this was all about monohybrid cross. In monohybrid cross, only one pair of contrasting character was taken into consideration and the cross was done between them. For example, a cross is done between a tall plant and a dwarf plant. In the F1 generation, all the plants will be of tall height, but in the second generation, in F2 generation, 3 plants will be of tall height and 1 plant is of short height. Now next topic was dihybrid cross. Di means 2. In this one, 2 pairs of contrasting characters is done. Okay, so a cross between 2 plants having 2 pairs of contrasting character is called a dihybrid cross. In this also 2 plants are taken, but 2 pairs of characters are taken. For example, the shape of the seed and the color of the seed is taken. The shape of the seed is it can be round or wrinkled, and the color of the seed can be green and yellow. So these are the 2 pairs of contrasting characters. We can see in this diagram, capital R is for the round one, small y is for the green color. Okay, in this one, small r is for the wrinkled seed and capital Y is the is for yellow color. Capital R is round color is the dominant one, and this one, this small y is for the recessive one, and small r is for recessive, and capital Y is for yellow. When the gamete will be formed, what will happen? From these two R only one R will come, and from these two alleles only one Y will come. Over here also, from these two R only one R will come, and from these Y they will segregate, they will separate, and only one Y will come. When there will be cross in F1 generation, R will combine together and Y will combine together, and the seed form will be of round and yellow color, because R in RR combination, R is the dominant one, so it will express itself, the shape of the seed will be round. And in this one, in the color of the seed, capital Y is the dominant, that is yellow color is the dominant, so the color expressed will be of yellow color. So in the F1 generation, the seed form will be of round and yellow color. Now what will happen? We'll cross, again we will cross the two plants in the F2 generation. Okay, so when in the F2 generation the cross was done, then the phenotypic ratio was 9:3:3:1, means 9 seeds are of round and yellow color, 3 seeds are of round and green color, and 3 seeds are of wrinkled and yellow color, and only 1 seed is of wrinkled and green color. When we draw a Punnett square for the dihybrid cross, what we have to do? We have to take these characters in this one. This side and this side, it will be same. So we will take this one. For example, one possibility can be of R, capital R, capital Y. One possibility can be of capital R, small y. One possibility can be of small r and capital Y. One possibility is of R, small r and small y. So this side also and this side also will write to. This is one of the plant, and this is also one of the plant. So when this character will be combined with this character, we will write capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. Second combination will be from this to this section. So for this also we'll write capital R, capital Y and small y. The third combination will be from here to here. So in this one, capital R and small r, capital Y and small y. Like this they will combine. And in the fourth combination, capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. Like this, in the second case you have to do like this. Capital R will combine like this. Capital Y and small y will combine like this. In this one, capital R, small y, like this you have to do for every squares, and you can form this Punnett square like this. So in the F2 generation, 16 total we have got 556 seeds, and the ratio will be of 16. Means if you'll add these numbers, you'll get 16, total 16 ratio. So this is the ratio for the phenotype. So once again we'll revise this dihybrid cross. In dihybrid cross, two pairs of contrasting characters are taken in two plants. Okay, for example, in this section we have considered the two seeds in which the color of the seeds are green and yellow. Green is the dominant trait and yellow color just opposite is the green is your recessive trait and yellow color is the dominant trait. Round shape of the seed is the dominant trait one, and the wrinkled shape of the tree of the seed is the recessive trait. So between these two characters we will cross first, means two characters round and green, wrinkled and yellow. The two characters will be crossed. So when gamete formation will take place, from these two combination, from RR only one R will come, and from YY only one Y will come. From this also, from small r only small r, one R will come, and from two capital Y only one Y will come. So in F1 generation we have total of 8 combinations in this one. 4 characters are present, 1, 2, 3, 4. The total 8 possibilities are present in the F1 generation, and all the seeds will be of round and yellow color, because R is a dominant trait over there. So R will express itself. So R round shape will be the dominant one. So it will be round in shape, and yellow color is the dominant color over there. All the seeds present in F1 generation will be of yellow color. Now in the next generation, in F2 generation, what we have to do? We have to cross the F1 generation among themselves. Means selfing will be done. Two F1 generation, two plants will be self will be crossed together. So we have altogether four possibilities. From one plant, these possibilities can be possible. Means one possibility can be that capital R will combine with capital Y. This is one of the possibility. Second possibility is that capital R will combine with small y. This is second possibility. And the third possibility is small r will combine with capital Y. And the fourth one is small r can combine with small y. These are the four possibilities in one plant, and these are the next four possibilities in the second plant. So in the first case, what we will do, we will select, we will cross between this and this combination, capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. In the second one, this will be crossed with this capital R, capital Y and small y. Like this, you can make this Punnett square. So altogether you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16 plants in the F2 generations. Okay, in the F2 generation, you will have 16 plants, and the phenotypic ratio will be 9:3:3:1. Means 9 plants will be of 9 seeds will be of round and yellow color, 3 seeds will be of round and green color, again 3 seeds will be of wrinkled and yellow color, and 1 seed is of wrinkled and green color. So this was all about dihybrid cross. In monohybrid cross, if you want to draw the Punnett square in simple term, then you can draw like this. This side you can take t, this side you can take small t. Again, this side you can take one capital T, and this side you can take small t. These are the two combination. One was our capital T, small t, capital T, small t. Capital T will combine with capital T to form this one. Capital T will combine with this small t, so it will form like this. Capital T, small t, and in this section also small t, small t. So 3 plants will be of tall height and 1 plant was of small height. So this was the Punnett square for monohybrid cross. You can draw like that. Now the next section is, how do these traits get expressed? So we have some points in this one. Let's discuss one by one. So how do the dominant trait or the recessive trait will express itself in the next generation? So how do this activities take place? First one, cellular DNA is the information source for making proteins in the cell. We have DNA in our body, okay, so that DNA, that cellular DNA will make the protein in the cell. Second one, a section of DNA that provides information for one protein is called the gene for that protein. Okay, so one of the DNA that is responsible for making the protein is called the gene for that protein. Example, tallness as the characteristic in plant. This is one of the character which is present in the plant, tallness. The plant can be of tall height, it can be of dwarf height. Plants have hormone that trigger the growth. Okay, in all the plants, plant hormones are present like auxin, gibberellin, cytokinins. Many plant hormones are there. Plant height can thus depend on the amount of a particular plant hormone. The amount of plant hormone made will depend on the efficiency of the process for making it. If the plant is of tall height, means the hormone which is responsible for making the plant tall is present in more amount, so then only the plant can be of tall height. But if the hormone is present in less amount, then the plant is not in tall height, it will be in short height. So the hormone plays an important role. An enzyme is important for this process. If the enzyme works efficiently, means enzymes, as you all know, they are present in the living organisms. If it will work efficiently, a lot of hormone will be made and the plant will be of tall height. Okay, if enzymes will make a large amount of hormone in the plant, then all the plants will be of tall height. If the enzyme will be less efficient, means if the enzyme will not work properly, then because of some gene alteration, then the amount of hormone form will be less and the plant will be of short height. Thus genes control characteristics or traits. So for all the characteristics which are passed on from the parents to their offspring, those activities are controlled by the genes, and enzymes also play a very important role over there. If the enzyme will work properly, then the hormones formed will be more in number and the character will be expressed. But if the enzyme will not work properly, then the hormones will be formed in less amount and the character will not be expressed. As an example we have seen in the case of tall and dwarf plant. Next, this is also one of the most important topic from your heredity part, that is sex determination. Means how the sex of a child is determined. Means whether it is a male child or a female child. How that is determined. So we'll study that topic in sex determination. Sex determination is a process in which sex of a offspring is determined. Offspring means the next generation. After the parent generation, we have the next generation, that is the baby, that is called offspring. So that this by this process we can determine the sex of a child. There are two factors which are responsible for this sex determination. What are the factors? First one is the environmental factor and the next one is the genetic factor. Environmental factor means something related to the environment. Some animals like reptiles, the temperature at which fertilized eggs are kept determine whether the offspring will be male or female. So some reptiles like turtle and all, what they used to do, they lay eggs. Okay, so the temperature will determine whether the offspring will be male or female. They used to lay the eggs, and the temperature which is present at that time will determine. The temperature is the environmental factor. It will determine whether the offspring will be male or female. It may be possible that it can be male, or it can be possible that it is female. So the sex of a child is dependent on the temperature in this one. Next one is genetic factor. In some animals like human beings, gender is determined by a pair of chromosomes called the sex chromosomes. In our body, total we have 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs of chromosomes. Out of 23 pairs of chromosomes, 22 chromosomes are autosomes and one pair is called the sex chromosome. That sex chromosome will determine whether the child is a girl child or a boy whether the child is a female child or it is a male child. Okay, so in female, the sex chromosome present are of X and X, capital X, capital X. It is similar. But in male, the chromosomes which are present, the sex chromosomes which are present in males is capital X and capital Y. It is different in males. Now let's see what are sex chromosomes. In humans, 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes are present. You should remember this one, that how many chromosomes are present in human beings. You can write 23 pairs. If 23 plus 23 you will do, it will come 46. So you can write 23 pairs or you can write 46 chromosomes. Okay. So out of these 23 pairs, 22 pairs are called autosomes. And the last pair of chromosome is called, which determines the gender of an individual, is called sex chromosome. The question are asked from this section also, what are sex chromosome? So what you will write, in human beings, 23 pairs of chromosomes are present. Out of that, 22 are autosomes, and the one pair which determines the gender of an individual or the sex of an individual is called the sex chromosome. So autosomes, what these autosomes will do? These 22 pairs of chromosomes which are called autosomes, they are responsible for the height of a person, eye color, color of the skin and all. Those characters will be controlled by the autosomes, but the gender, the sex of a person will be determined only by the sex chromosomes. Okay, in males, sex chromosome in females, sex chromosome is capital X and capital X, but in males, sex chromosome is X and Y. So in females, the sex chromosome combination is similar, but in males it is different. It is X and Y. Women have a perfect pair of sex chromosome, both called X. Means both the sex chromosomes in females is same, X is same, but in male it is different, that is X and Y. Have a mismatched pair in which one normal size X while the other is short one, that is Y. Means X is normal size, but Y chromosome which is present in men, it is Y. So generally questions are asked from this section also, what is the difference between the sex chromosome of male and female? So what you will write, in women's have a perfect pair of sex chromosome, both are X and X, but in men a mismatched pair is present in which one is normal size X and the other one is short one, that is Y. So this is the difference between the sex chromosome between a female and a male. In female it is XX and in male it is XY. Now we'll move towards the next section. Sex determination in humans. How sex is determined in human beings, that we'll study in this topic. And this is the last chapter of your heredity part. Generally 5 marks questions are asked from this topic, sex determination in humans. So in this figure you can see this is the male and this is the female. In male, as I have told you, that the pair of sex chromosome which is present in male is X and Y. But in female, the pair of chromosomes which are present is X and X. When gamete formation will take place? Okay, as we have read in how do organisms reproduce, males give sperms and the females, the gametes are called eggs. So sperms are present in many numbers because that have to travel from the male body to the female body. So number of sperms will be more. So it is possible that half of the sperms will carry X chromosome and half of the sperms will carry Y chromosome. So from the male body, sperms will come out and these gametes are haploid. Means when the segregation will take place, X will divide and Y will also divide. So half of the sperms will carry X chromosome and half of them will carry a Y chromosome. But in women, in a month, only one egg is released. So that egg will carry, if the women is having both XX chromosome, so only one X will come over there, so it is having a X chromosome. So what is possible? This X, the sperm which is having a X chromosome can combine with the egg having X chromosome, and it can form a, the zygote which is formed is can form a XX pair. But it is possible that Y, the sperm which is carrying a Y chromosome, can combine with the X chromosome of the egg, and it can form a combination XY. The zygote form is X and Y. So two possibilities are there, that the zygote form can be of XX and the zygote form can be of X and Y. If the zygote form, if the chromosome pair is XX, then the offspring formed will be a female. Okay, then the child, then the girl child will be there. But if the combination is XY, as we know XY combination is present in males only, so the child will be a boy child. Its gender will be a male. So this was all about sex determination in humans. So let's discuss this point one. In this figure shows that half of the child will be a boy and half of it will be a girl. It can be possible that whenever that gametes will combine, means sperms will combine with egg, it is possible that half of the children can be male and half of the children can be female. It depends on the chromosomes. All the children will inherit X chromosome from their mother regardless of whether they are boys or girls. As we know that in female only XX chromosomes are present, that sex chromosomes are XX. So all the children will get X chromosome from the mother, whether it is a boy or a girl child. Thus the sex of a child will be determined by what they inherit from the father. But the father is having a X and Y chromosome. If the child will take X chromosome from the father, then the child will be a girl child. But if the child will take a Y chromosome from the father, then the child will be a boy child. So the father will determine the sex of a child will be determined what they inherit from the father, means which type of chromosome they are inheriting, they are acquiring from the father. The sex of a child is determined by the father. A child who inherits an X chromosome from her father will be a girl, and one who inherits a Y chromosome from him will be a boy child. So this was all about sex determination in humans. Okay, so in male the combination is XY, and female the combination is XX. When gamete formation will take place, half of the sperm will carry X chromosome and half of the sperm will carry Y chromosome. And the male, they are having the gametes which is present in female is egg. So in this XX combination is present, so only X will come over there. So egg will carry X chromosome. It is possible that sperm can fertilize with the egg having X chromosome and they can form a zygote XX. But it is also possible that the sperm carrying Y chromosome can fertilize with the egg and they can form a zygote having X and Y. If the zygote formed is XX, then the offspring form will be a female child, and if the zygote form is XY, then the offspring form will be a male child. So all the children, whether it is a boy or a girl, they will get X chromosome from their mother. And if the child is a girl child, she will take X chromosome from the mother, and if the child is a male child, it will take Y chromosome from the father. So this was all about sex determination in humans. I hope you all have understood. If you have any doubt, you can comment in the comment section so that I can clear your doubt. So this was all about heredity, and I will make a separate video for the evolution part. If you are from CBSE board, then you have to study till heredity. But if you are from other boards like state boards and all, then you have to study the full chapter, because still no syllabus is not reduced. So you have to study the complete chapter. Thank you for watching my channel. If this tutorial is helpful for you, please like and share it with your friends also. And please, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel, and don't forget to click on the bell icon to get the latest notification whenever I will be uploading a new video. And you can also connect with me through Facebook. The link will be given in the description box. And if you go through the video, read your NCERT books. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section.